Have you ever dreamed of creating your own video conferencing app like Zoom, but felt it was too complex to pull off? In this course, you'll do exactly that. You will design, then build, then deploy a full-stack video conferencing app called Let's Talk, which is a Zoom clone that rivals the best in the industry. And you'll do it using modern tools like Figma, Next.js 15, TypeScript, TailwindCSS, ShadCN, Clerk, Stream, and much more. Hello and welcome to our brand new course, where we're gonna build and deploy an enterprise-ready video and audio conferencing app that can scale to millions of users and thousands of call participants. My name is Noor. I'm a software engineer and the lead instructor at Programming Fluency. I have many years of experience both as a software developer and as an instructor, and I'm so excited to be your instructor on this course. In this course, I'll teach you everything, from designing the Let's Talk app using Figma to developing it using Next.js 15. We'll start with authentication using Clerk, covering different login and registration scenarios. Then we're gonna build a beautiful user interface using TailwindCSS and ShadCN. You're gonna create a modern homepage with a main menu for creating meetings and calls. Next, we'll dive into the core features of the app using Stream, an amazing technology used by big tech companies to integrate video and audio calls into web applications. You'll build a system where users can instantly start a meeting, then be redirected to the meeting setup page to quickly configure their camera and microphone, and once they join, they'll experience a video setup just like Zoom, where they can invite people and talk in real time, share their screen, record meetings, toggle microphone and camera, change the view layout, share emotions, view participants, end calls, and much more. I'll teach you everything from scratch. By the end of this course, you'll have a fully functional Next.js video conferencing app in your portfolio, one that you can showcase to potential employers and show them how awesome you are as a web developer. So what are you waiting for? Let's Talk is the best video conferencing app online. Join me and let's build something amazing together. Hey everyone! Before we start building our beloved app, let's take a look at what we are going to build. Let's take a quick tour of Let's Talk app. This is going to be the landing page of Let's Talk app. If a user is visiting our app for the first time ever, he's gonna see this landing page. Of course, he can log in with Google, GitHub, LinkedIn, or they can click on sign up and register a new account. Let's log in with Google first. As you can see, I logged in with my Google account, and this is the home page of the app. This is the user panel. I can manage my own account from here. I can sign out, and so on. Now let's try to register a new account. I'm gonna click on sign up here, and then go to the registration page. As you can see, this is the register route. Let's say first name is Mark and last name is Zuckerberg. And for the email address, I'm gonna go to Google and type temp mail. Go to this website. It will allow you to generate a temporary email. Copy that email and let's paste it here. And then type any password, click on continue, verify you're human. Then our application is gonna send a verification email to that user email. So let's go to our temporary email. As you can see, we got an email from Let's Talk app. Let's click on it. As you can see here, Let's Talk sent us a verification code. Let's copy that code. And now let's paste it here. And now I'm logged in with a new account. If I click here on the user panel or the user button, I can see the name Mark Zuckerberg and the email. Let's click on Manage Account and Update Profile. I want to change the profile picture, so I'm gonna go here and type Mark Zuckerberg. Let's choose any image. Okay, save this image. Let's name it Mark. And now let's upload that image. And as you can see, the profile picture has been changed. Now let's explore the app. Here, this is the nav bar. This is the home page, of course. This is the upcoming page. No upcoming meetings yet. Previous meetings, also no meetings. Recordings, we have none as well. My room, this is my room details, my personal room details. As you can see here, Mark's meeting room. Let's go back to the home page and try to create a new meeting. If I click here, it's gonna open that modal telling me to start an instant meeting and then add a meeting description. I'm gonna name it work meeting and then click on create meeting. As you can see, setting up your meeting, you have to allow your camera and then allow your mic. And right now we are in the meeting setup page. This is a video preview. I'm gonna open my camera button. Hey guys, this is me. As you can see here, we have an option to join with mic and camera off. You can click on it and disable the video. You can click on it again and enable the video again. I'm gonna close my camera button now and let's join the meeting. Loading. And then here we are redirected to the meeting page. I'm gonna open the camera again. As you can see, this is the meeting page. You can invite people from here. Meeting link copied. And then I'm gonna open the app with my own account, then click on join meeting. And then I'm gonna type the meeting link here and then click on join meeting. Also, I'm gonna be redirected to the meeting setup page. Click on join meeting. As you can see, I got two videos here. As you can see here, there are two people talking. Let me open the meeting link with a third account. Allow the camera and mic. Join meeting. And as you can see, there are three people talking. Hello. And those are the meeting controls. You can close the mic and camera from here and then open them again. You can add reactions like this one. You can record the meeting. You can change the view, like you can get a grid view. Speaker right, the first one was speaker left. You can get some stats for the meeting here. And from here, you can view the participants like that. Of course, we're gonna do all of that together. And of course, you can leave the call from here. And when you leave the call, you're gonna be redirected to the home page. Let's go back to Mark Zuckerberg's account. I'm gonna record the meeting here. And then stop recording. Then click on End Call for Everyone. This button, the End Call for Everyone, is gonna appear only to the meeting owner, the person who initialized the meeting or the person who created the meeting. Right now, as you can see, I recorded the meeting, right? Now I can go to Recordings and I get the recordings here. Now let's go back to the home page and schedule a future meeting. Like, let's say, meta meeting. And we're gonna choose a future date. Let's say this one, okay, March 22nd. meta meeting, March 22nd. Click on submit. As you can see, the meeting is created and I was redirected to the upcoming page with the meeting detail or all the upcoming meetings detail. If I click on start, I'm gonna get this message. Your meeting hasn't started yet. It's scheduled for March 22nd. I can go back home and then click on previous meetings. As you can see here, I got the previous meeting, the work meeting, and all the participants here. We already saw the recordings. I can go to my room. I can copy invitation. I get link copied here. And also I can start the meeting and then join meeting and send that meeting link to other people. This is my own personal room. Okay? And that's it. I'm very excited to build this app with you guys. I hope you're excited too. So let's build it together from scratch. Let's kick off the development of Let's Talk app by starting where I always prefer to begin my web projects, which is on GitHub, the favorite among developers. We're gonna create a repository for our course and link it to a local directory on our computer. And this repository will include all the resources we'll use throughout the course, including the source code for the Let's Talk app itself, okay? So head over to your GitHub account. If you don't have one yet, it's time to create one. After all, you can't be a developer without having a GitHub account. Then let's create a new repository and let's name it Let's Talk Course. And let's make it private for now. And after I finish recording this course, I'm gonna change it back to public. Okay? And now just click Create Repository. And now go to your desktop, create a new folder, and name it also Let's Talk Course. Then open Visual Studio Code new window, and then open that folder using VS Code. Then let's open the terminal. Then go back here to your GitHub repo and copy all of that code from here, and then just paste it here inside your terminal. Click enter. And that's it. Now the GitHub repository for our course is linked to our local directory. If we go back here and reload the page, as you can see, we have Let's Talk course here. Okay, nice. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll be placing all the resources for our course inside this directory and then pushing them to the GitHub repository, okay? This way, you can easily access everything there. You're gonna find the link to the finished version of this repository in the description of this video. And now let's design our app using Figma. Designing the user interface before diving into development is crucial because it will allow us to visualize how our app will look and function. So, first of all, I need you to go to your local directory and create a new folder here. And let's name it UI Design. And then inside that folder, create another folder named Design Assets. And then we're gonna place all the design assets that we're gonna need for our UI design inside that folder. You can find those design assets in the GitHub repo. For me, I'm just gonna copy them from the old project. I have the old project here, the source code for the old project. I'm gonna go ahead and copy that folder. And let me delete that and paste that folder here inside the UI design folder. There you go. As I told you, you can find these assets in our GitHub repo. Just go to the GitHub repo and download all of them inside your design assets folder, okay? And by the way, I got most of these icons from a website called SVG repo. If you're interested, let me show it to you. This is the website. It's called SVG repo. It has a lot of SVG vector and icons and so on, okay? Now I'm gonna push these files to GitHub. I'm gonna say git add all, git commit message, adding the UI design assets, then git push. Now if you go back to our GitHub repo, reload the page, as you can see, we have the design assets here. Let's rename this screenshot. This is the call controls. Okay, so let's rename it to call controls. Call controls. And then let's push the changes again. Then go to our GitHub repo again. And there we go. It's renamed. Okay, that's very nice. And now let's go to Figma. Create a new account if you don't have one. Then create a team. I created a team named Programming Fluency. And then create a new project. Let's name it, let's talk design or UI design. Click continue. Then create project. And inside of it, let's create a new design file. And let's start designing. I'm gonna go here, down here, and choose a frame. And then on the right hand side, you're gonna have a lot of options. Let's choose desktop. We're designing for desktop. And then choose desktop from here. It's gonna create a new frame for you. Let's name this page or this frame landing page. We're gonna start by designing the landing page. And let's open the design assets folder. And let's take the logo from here. Let's put it here. And then let's add text here saying connect. Let's change the font size. Let's make it, let's say 60. Okay. Let's make it black. Okay, nice. Here I'm gonna say connect, communicate, collaborate in real time. Okay, let's decrease the font size a bit. Let's make it, let's say 50. Okay. And let's get this sign in screenshot. I took a screenshot from Clerk. Okay, we're gonna be using Clerk for authentication, but more on that later. So I just took a screenshot from the sign-in user interface of Clerk. Okay, they have like a UI component for signing in. And that's it. This is our landing page. And now let's go ahead and design the home page. But before we do that, let's give a name to our design. Okay, we're gonna name it let's talk. Okay, perfect. Now let's design the home page. So let's create a new frame. Also desktop. And here let's name it home page. First of all, we want to create a nav bar here. So we're gonna create a rectangle here. Let's make the color something like this color, light gray, okay? And here we wanna put a user image. So let's open the images here. Let's choose any of these images, something like that. Maybe change this gray color to a more lighter gray. Okay, this is nice. And here we're gonna put the logo here. Okay, maybe make it a bit bigger. Also make this a bit bigger. Okay. And here let's type home and make this, let's say, regular. And let's duplicate this 4 more times. And let's rename this to upcoming and this to previous and this one to recordings, and finally this one to my room. Let's make the font size 30 and let's put a home icon here and upcoming here and previous. Let's put it here and recordings here, and the my room icon is gonna be a lock or a key that looks like that. And that is it. This is our nav bar. Now let's add a small rectangle here with a blue background, something like that. Okay, nice. Let's add the radius, let's say 50. Okay, and here I'm gonna say upcoming meeting. Let's make this extra light. Here we're gonna say upcoming meeting at, and here let's provide any date. Let's say 27, or let's say 2/27 2025 at, let's say 7:00:00 p.m. Let's make this a bit bolder, yeah, something like that. Okay, nice. Maybe make this more blue, like here or here. Okay, this is better. And here we're gonna type the current date, and it's gonna be dynamic, it's gonna be updating in real time. So let's say 07:24 p.m. Let's make this black and let's make the font size 50, or let's say 60. And here let's type the date. Let's say Monday, February 24, 2025. Let's make this, let's say medium, okay. And the font size, let's make it 50. Okay, nice. And now let's add the home image. Yeah, this one. Okay, great. Let's make this a bit smaller. Let's say 45. Okay. And here we want to have like 4 boxes, the main menu, remember? So here I'm gonna have like 4 rectangles like that. Duplicate. Okay. The first one is gonna have an orange background, something like that. Okay. And the other three boxes are going to have a blue background. And let's put the new icon here. Let's first bring to front and put it here. And let's type here new meeting. Make the font size 30, the font black, and the text color is gonna be white. Okay, this is nice. Let's give a radius here of 50. Okay. Also here, let's here add the join meeting icon. Bring to front, then of course resize it. Okay, it doesn't look very good when I try to resize it, so I'm gonna just take screenshot from here and then put it here. And let's duplicate this and type here join meeting. And let's here type schedule. And by the way, guys, I got inspiration for this design or this interface from the actual Zoom application. I opened my Zoom application and took some inspiration from it, okay? And let's here take the calendar icon. Let's see if we try to make it smaller, if it will look good or not. I think it does look good, okay? And finally here, let's type recordings. And here, let's take recordings 2 and put it here. And as you can see, we have our home page. Now we have landing page and home page. Let's preview it. Okay. This is the landing page. And this is the home page. Okay, we have something here. What is this? Let's remove it. I can't find it. I don't know honestly where it's coming from. Okay, no problem. Anyways, as you can see, we have the landing page and the home page. Now, when a user clicks on this box, the new meeting box, we want to show him a modal, right? Let's design that modal. So, in order to open a modal when clicking on this box or this button, we need to do some sort of an overlay. Like here, when I click on this box, it opens a modal and this modal appears as an overlay, meaning that the background is kinda black, right? So how can we do that in Figma? First of all, let's create that modal or that overlay in a new frame. Let's choose wireframe and just minimize it a bit like that. Let's call this create meeting modal and let's change the background to gray, something like this one, okay, or maybe this one. And here I'm gonna say start an instant meeting and here add this emoji, make it a bit bigger, let's say 60 font size, okay, yeah, something like that. Maybe we can increase this as well to 60. No, it's very big. Okay, let's say 45. Okay, that's better. And put this here. And here we're gonna add a text area. So we're gonna add a rectangle, give it 45 or 50 radius. Make the background pure white, like that, okay. And here we're gonna add a button. Let's add a radius of 50 as well. Background is gonna be blue, okay. And here let's type create meeting. Decrease the font size a bit, make it 40, okay. And let's add a radius to this modal, 50 as well, okay. Let's make the background more of a light gray, like this one, maybe, okay. So yeah, this is pretty much it. So how can we do that overlay in Figma? We're gonna go here to prototype and then choose the element that we want to show the modal when the user clicks on it, okay, which is this box. I'm gonna choose it and then see this plus icon. I'm gonna click on it and drag an arrow like that from it and connect it to that modal. It's gonna ask me the type of trigger, what type of trigger I want. There are a lot of trigger types here. I'm gonna choose onClick, meaning that when the user clicks on that button or that box, I want to show that modal. The action is open overlay. Position is centered. Close when clicking outside. The background is black, 80%. Animation, let's make it, okay, dissolve. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now let's test it. If you want to test it, just go here to preview, click on it. It's gonna open this preview window for you. Then click on that box. As you can see, it opened a modal for us like we want exactly in our app. Of course, here we want to add something, a text here saying add a meeting description. Of course, this is going to be really small text, like 20 pixel, and it's gonna be thin. Here it's just add, okay. So yeah, here it looks like that, add a meeting description. So when we click here, go to prototype, preview, click here. Look at that, we have our modal. Now we're gonna create another one for the join meeting. So let's copy that. Let's duplicate it. Okay, here. But name this join meeting. And here we're gonna say type the meeting link. Remove this. Remove also this. And here we're gonna make this a bit smaller, like that. And here we're gonna say join meeting. And let's make this a bit smaller. So yeah. Now we are on prototype. I'm gonna do the same here. I'm gonna connect this to that join meeting modal. it's gonna have the same settings, open overlay, and here it's gonna be 80% as well. So yeah, nice. I'm gonna test it. Click here, click on join meeting. So type meeting link here, join meeting. Of course, it needs some centering like that, and here this as well. And for the schedule meeting, we're gonna do the same. I'm not gonna make it again. Here on schedule meeting, we're gonna open that modal showing a text area to input a meeting description and to select date and time. And now when the user clicks on join meeting, we want to take him to a meeting setup page, remember? So let's design this page. Here we're gonna create a new frame. Let's make it a desktop one, which is gonna be the meeting setup. Here we're gonna have a rectangle like that, which is gonna be the video area. I'm gonna make it black for now. Go to design, make the background black. Here we're gonna say meeting setup, and here we're gonna put a small box like that saying join with mic and camera off. Of course, make it like 20 pixels and make this, let's say, regular. So this is a checkbox. If the user clicks on that box, the camera is gonna open and close. And here we want to show some settings icon. Let's make this black. And here let's go to SVG repo website and search for settings icon. Yeah, like this one. Download it in the design assets folder. Let's name it settings. And here let's search for it. Yeah, it's this one. Okay, so we need like a white one. Let's see if we have a white one here. Okay, maybe this one. Let's overwrite this one. Let's take it here. And now let's put it here. Let's say bring to front. It's still not good. Okay, maybe make this background white like that and put this here. But in our app, we're not gonna do that. So yeah, that's nice. This is our meeting setup. Now when the user clicks on this button here, I'm gonna prototype. When the user clicks here, it's gonna show this page, okay? Here we're gonna say on click, navigate to the meeting setup page. Okay, this is the animation. Fine. Okay, nice. Our design looks good so far. Now let's design the meeting page. We will create another desktop page here for the meeting page. So the meeting page is gonna have a button here that has also radius of 50, background black, and here text saying invite people. Let's make it black. Font size, let's say 25. Okay, this is good. And here we're gonna have the video rectangle like that. Give it a radius 50. We're gonna make the background black for now, but of course it's gonna show the person. Okay, let's give it this color. Of course, this is going to show the person using the camera. And if the camera is off, it's gonna show a black background. Okay? And here we're gonna show the call controls like that. Okay, nice. And here maybe show a small box and type here 3 dots as an indicator of menu, show menu or settings or something like that. Make the font size 40 and here give it a radius of 50. Okay, so yeah, that's nice. This is the meeting page. Now let's create the upcoming page. Let's put it here. Let's name it upcoming page. We're gonna take the nav bar from here. So let's copy all of that. Let's say copy and go here and paste it. Okay, nice. And here we're gonna say upcoming page, or sorry, let's say upcoming meetings. Make it a bit bigger, like 50. Regular font, fine. And here we're gonna show the meeting card. Give it radius, background of, let's say, light blue like that. Okay. Here we're gonna type the meeting description like work meeting. Make this 40. And let's duplicate this. Take a copy from it, put it here, and bring it to front. This icon is indicating that this is an upcoming meeting. Here, let's write a date. Let's type any date. Let's say March 26, 2025 at 11:30 p.m. Okay. And here we're gonna show 2 buttons. The first one is gonna be blue, saying start meeting. Make it, let's say, 15 or 25. Okay. And here we're gonna add another button saying, first of all, it's gonna be a black background. It's gonna have a black background. And it's gonna say copy invitation. And we're gonna show a copy icon here. Let's make it small like that. And just put it here. Okay, nice. We have the upcoming page or upcoming meetings page. The previous meetings page is gonna be like this one, but here it's gonna have the name previous, and here this is going to be the previous icon. Bring it to front. This is also going to be the description of the meeting. Let's say here maybe lecture meeting or whatever. It's gonna show its date also. Let's say 26 January. And here we're not gonna have any buttons. We're gonna show a circle here that has a black background indicating the number of the participants. Let's say 3 participants. And let's put any images from here. Let's take just one, put it here, duplicate this. Of course, this is indicating 3 people. So yeah, and here type previous meetings. And this is our previous meetings page. What else do we have? We have recordings and my room pages left. The recordings is gonna be like this one. We're gonna copy that, paste here a copy from it, and here name it recordings, and here call it recordings page, and here remove this icon, and I want this one. Yeah, okay, let's take it here, put it here. Okay, and here the name of the recording. Also, let's name it lecture meeting recording. Let's say that the user recorded his lecture. And here also the dates. Here we're not gonna need this. And here we're gonna copy those buttons and paste them here. This is a black background, this one. Okay, this is, as we said, it's going to be black. Here we're gonna say play, and here copy link, and let's see if we have a play icon. Let's first put this here and this here. I don't know if I have play. Yeah, I have a play icon. This is good. Let's put it here. And here we will say call recordings, not recordings meetings. Call recordings. And finally, we're gonna have my room page here. My room. Let's remove all of that. Bring this here. Here we're gonna say topic, and we're gonna type something like Noor's meeting room, and here the meeting ID, user underscore any numbers, whatever, and here invite link. Also here we're gonna say HTTPS any link, whatever. Okay, any link. Okay, here we're gonna say, we're gonna remove this actually. Let's make all of this bold. Let's say, okay, 24. And here we're gonna remove this icon. And here say start meeting. And here copy invitation. And this is my room page. Let's put this here. And maybe make it a bit bigger, like 50, okay? And bring those here as well. Maybe make them also a bit bigger. And by the way, you can share this design with anyone, with your colleagues maybe, or fellow developers, fellow designers. just click on share and choose here. You can choose only invited people or anyone. What can they do? They can just view it or they can edit it if you want. Okay? You can even put a password on it. Click save and copy link. Now if I open an incognito window and paste that link, meaning that you can give this link to anyone in the world, they can go to that link and view your design. Pretty awesome, right? Figma is awesome. So yeah, we have finished our UI design. Congratulations. This is going to be our app, and this is the Figma design, the UI design for Let's Talk app. Now let's go ahead and start the development phase, which will allow us to bring Let's Talk app to life. And now, as we said, let's bring our project to life using the magic of coding. And we're gonna start by setting up the project. And since we're using Next.js as a full stack framework for this project, the first thing we need to do is to install Next.js, right? So just open your terminal and let's type this command npx create -next -app at latest, which is gonna install the latest Next.js for you. For now, the latest Next.js is Next.js 15. But if you're watching this video and let's say Next 17 is the latest version, it's gonna install Next.js 17 for you. So, as we said, npx create next app at latest, and then type the name of the app, which is let's -talk -app, and then press enter. You need to install the following packages, say yes. Okay, would you like to use TypeScript? Of course. ESLint? No. TailwindCSS? Of course. Source directory? No. App router? Of course. Turbo pack? I don't know. Let's say yes. Here, let's say no. And now it's installing a new Next.js project. And right now the project is ready. Let's cd to this project. We're gonna say cd let's talk app, and then start the development server by typing npm run dev and press enter. Now let's open your browser and go to localhost 3000. And as you can see, this is the Next.js starter template. So now let's explore this Next.js project. Close the UI design. Here, this is going to be our application. Let's talk app. When you first install any Next.js application, it's gonna provide you with an app directory, which is gonna contain pretty much most of the application. Inside of this app directory, we're gonna have the globals.css file, the layout file, and the page file. And here we have some extra files like the .gitignore, here the package.json file. Let's take a look at the packages. Here we have React 19, React DOM and Next. And here we have Tailwind CSS version 4. This is the latest version of Tailwind CSS, by the way. It's pretty new, okay? And one of the main features of this new Tailwind CSS is that they got rid of tailwind.config file. As you can see here, there is no tailwind config file. So right now, let's open the home page. And as you can see, as I told you before, this is the starter template. Let's remove all of that. And let's return a simple h1 element saying, let's talk app. Click save. As you can see here, we get let's talk app. Very nice. Let's add a class name. Let's add some Tailwind classes like font black, for example, text, let's say 6x large, save. Okay, so Tailwind is working just fine. Let's say text center. Okay, this is really nice. Now we have our Next.js application and everything is working just fine. Let's continue. And since we're building a video conferencing app like Zoom, we're gonna need to track everyone's name in a call room and other user details, right? And this is why we need to add an authentication feature to our application. Luckily, there is an amazing third-party service that handles this out of the box for us, which is Clerk. Let's explore it together. If you go to clerk.com and then go to Docs, you can see that we have everything here. We can go to Next.js. This is the quick start guide. Of course, they are telling you to install a Next application. We already did that. Then install Clerk and then add a middleware. And finally, we're gonna need to wrap everything inside a Clerk provider component. So let's do that step by step. First of all, we're gonna copy this command and go to our application, open a new terminal, cd to our app, and then type npm install @clerk/next.js. Press enter. Now we have installed Clerk. Let's see what's next. We're gonna need to create a middleware.ts file, so copy that, go to our projects, and add a new file, name it middleware.ts, and then copy all the code from here and just paste it here. And then they are telling you to wrap everything inside a Clerk provider component. And we're gonna need to add that Clerk provider component to our app's layout, the layout.tsx file. And here they're explaining that this creates a header with Clerk's pre-built components to allow users to sign in and out. So, like here in this file, the layout.tsx file, they put everything inside a Clerk provider like that. So let's go to our project. Then let's use a shortcut by typing Ctrl plus the letter P on your keyboard, and then type the name of the file that you want to go to. In that case, we want to go to layout.tsx file. So let's choose it. And here, we're gonna put everything inside a Clerk provider. We're gonna say Clerk provider coming from Clerk Next.js. If I click here, it's gonna auto import that component. See? Here. So let's put everything inside that Clerk provider. And that's it. This is how easy Clerk is. Now we can use everything inside Clerk. We can use its built-in components, we can authenticate our users, and enjoy this amazing package. Now let's create our own logic. We're gonna start by creating a new route group. If you're not familiar with route groups in Next.js, it basically allows you to create route names that are not part of the full URL. Okay? So here I'm gonna create parentheses like that and say auth. And inside of that auth, I'm gonna create a new route named login. This way I can go to /login right away without mentioning the word auth, okay? And inside of login, we're gonna create a catch-all routes by saying or by creating square brackets like that, and then another square brackets inside of it, then 3 periods like that, and typing login, and then inside of it we're gonna create a page.tsx file. And here inside of that page, we're gonna create it. We're gonna say const login page equals to a function that's going to return something, of course. Let's return a React fragment for now. And here we're gonna say export default login page. Click save. And then we're gonna need to create another route for register. Here inside of Auth, we're gonna create a new folder, name it register. And inside of register, we're gonna create a new folder, also catch all route like that, and say register. And inside of it, we're gonna create a new file. Let's name it page.tsx. And also here, we're gonna say const register page equals to a function that's going to return a React fragment. And here we're gonna say export default register page, then save. And now we have a final step to make, which is to add Clerk API keys. And in order to do so, we need to create a new project. So first, create a new account on Clerk. If you don't have an account already, create a new account on Clerk. Then go to your dashboard. Then let's create a new project. I have the old project here. Let's create a new one. Let's name it Let's Talk App, or just Let's Talk. Sign in options, meaning that here we can choose how we want our users to sign in. We want them to sign in using their email address, phone number. No, you can choose phone number if you want. You can choose username. I'm gonna choose email, Google, GitHub, since we're developers, and LinkedIn. And that's enough. Click on create application. And now they are giving us the same instructions. Install Clerk, we already did that, and then copy your Clerk publishable key and Clerk secret key. Copy these keys, then go here to your project and create a new file named .inf.local, and then paste those keys here. Those keys will allow your users to use your Clerk project. And then create middleware, we already did that, and also we did add the Clerk provider. And now we have one more thing to do, which is that we're gonna need to tell Clerk about our login and register routes. So this is the old project, by the way. This is the source code for the old project. I'm gonna copy these 2 lines of code and go ahead and paste them here. This is next public Clerk sign-in URL. This is telling Clerk about your sign-in URL, which is on /login, and this is telling Clerk about your sign-up URL. And of course, everything in Next.js inside the .inf file that is prefixed with this word next_public means that this variable or this environment variable can be exposed to the client side. It's not sensitive or secret or anything like that, okay? Now click save, and now Clerk is all set up and you're good to go. Now let's go ahead and create the login and register pages. We're gonna go to login page first, and here let's return a main element, which is gonna render a div. Inside of that div, we're gonna render a component from Clerk named sign in. which is gonna show the sign in or the login interface that will allow any user to log in. And of course, this sign in component is coming from Clerk Next.js. And here we want to add an appearance. Base theme equals to a theme called Neo Brutalism. Of course, we don't have Clerk themes just yet, so let's open the terminal and install it. We're gonna type npm install at clerk/themes. Sorry, I had a typo here, it's Clerk. And here we're gonna need to wrap this inside an object like that and import this from Clerk themes. There we go. Now if we go to /login, we should see that interface. Oh, I forgot to save. Let's reload again. Okay. Very nice. Now we have that interface. Let's add a class name of margin top 3. And we're gonna center that login interface later. And now we're gonna need to add the logo and the slogan of the app to this login page. And this is why we're gonna go up here before this div and let's add this section. It's going to render an image. Now let's import this image from next image. If you wanna auto import anything, there is a shortcut in VS Code. Just highlight the element you wanna import, then click on Ctrl and space. It's gonna open a menu like that. Here we wanna import image from next image. Here the source of that image is gonna be the logo of our application, which is inside a folder named assets. But we don't have that assets folder just yet, right? So I need you to head over to the GitHub repo and copy all of our assets from the public directory and paste them here inside the public directory. Okay, let me remove these files. They came from Next.js. Then I'm gonna go here to the old project, copy the assets and paste them here inside the public directory. And there you go. We have our assets. So here we're rendering the logo and the slogan. Let's save and reload the page. Okay, great. We have them here. Let's center that sign-in interface. We're gonna go here to the main element and add these class names. Flex call, item center, which is gonna center the elements. Padding, gap, and we've added animation, but we didn't define that animation just yet. So let's just do that. But first, let me show you something here. Remember that I told you that we are using TailwindCSS version 4 right now. Before, in previous versions, we used a file named tailwind.config file. So while I was developing this application, I used this file to define that animation, like that. Keyframes, fade in, and so on. And here I defined the animation. But right now in version 4, Tailwind totally got rid of that Tailwind config file. And whenever you wanna extend Tailwind functionality or add something like animation or anything like that, you have to do it in the globals.css file. Let me show you how. If you go to the Tailwind CSS documentation and choose version 4, you can see here they are telling you, for example, if you want to define animation keyframes, you do it like that in your CSS file. Like here, you can say add import Tailwind CSS and then add theme and define the animation like that. So I'm gonna copy all of that actually. And then let's go back to our project and paste that here. But here, instead of saying animate fade in scale, I'm just gonna say fade in. This is the name of my animation, right? Yeah, animate fade in. Okay. So, yeah, I think that's it. Let's see if it's working. Yeah, I think it's animating, right? Okay, great, it's working. Now let's create the register page. Let's go to register page. It looks pretty much like the login page, but here we're gonna render a component named sign up. So I'm gonna copy all the code from here, from the old project, and let's just paste it here. Here also we are rendering a main element, a section, then an image showing the logo, then our slogan, then the sign up component coming from Clerk that has that theme, Neo Brutalism. Let's save and let's go here to register. Okay, great, we have the register interface. There is one more thing I want to do. I want to add a user first name and last name here. So I'm gonna go to the Clerk dashboard, go to your project and click on configure and go here and choose name, yeah, and then click on save. Now if you go back here and reload the page, as you can see, the user now can add his first name and last name. And now let's create the homepage of our app. First, let's delete this file, the page.tsx file of the app directory. Let's delete it. And then we're gonna create a new route group named main, which will include the main functionalities of the app. So here, let's create a new folder in parentheses like that, since it's gonna be a route group, and name it main. Then under it, we're gonna create another two routes. One of them is also a route group named home. And the other one is a normal route named meeting. This meeting route will hold all of our meetings functionalities. And the home route will include all the other functionalities. So let's create a layout and pages for that route. We're gonna create a new file here inside of the home directory named layout.tsx and another one named page.tsx. Now let's create that layout file. We're gonna open it and type const home layout equals to a function, and this function is gonna be an asynchronous function. Here let's say export default home layout. And of course, since this is a layout, it's gonna take props object that has children. And that children is gonna be of type React, coming from React dot React node. And here we're gonna return a main element that has class name relative. And that layout is gonna render a navbar component in which we are going to create later. And then here we're gonna render a section. And inside of this section, we're gonna render a div that's going to render the children. Now let's save. And let's type anything here in the page for now. In that home page, we're gonna say const home page equals to a function. And let's export default that home page. Here, of course, we're gonna return something. Let's return a React fragment for now. Click Save. And now let's create the layout for the main route. So inside of main, we're gonna create a new file. Let's name it also layout.tsx. And let's copy the code from here, paste it here, remove all of that. And here we're gonna name that main layout and export it. And then we're gonna need to render a landing page in case there is no logged in user. And if there is a logged in user, we're gonna render the home page content. So in that case, we're gonna need to go here and say const user equals to current user coming from Clerk Next.js server here. And of course, this is a function. And we're gonna say await here. And simply here, we're gonna say if no user, and then we're gonna return all the content from the login page. Remember the login page? Because the landing page is gonna look pretty much like the login page. So let's go to the login page and let's copy all of that, or let's copy the return block. And then let's go back to the main layout. And as we were saying, if no user, return all this content. Let's import image from next image, sign in from Clerk, and the theme from Clerk themes. So again, if no user, return the content from the login page. Otherwise, we're gonna return the children in a main element like that. Let's here give it an animation, fade in, the animation that we created before, remember? So now let's try it out. Just let me comment this navbar for now. And here let's go to the home page. Right now there is no logged in user, right? But here we're getting an error saying that the sign-in component is not configured correctly. And this is because we need here to go to the main layout, then go to the sign-in component and add a property named routing equals to hash. Right now, the error should disappear. Yeah, it did disappear. Perfect. Okay, right now, if I click on sign up, it's gonna take me to the register page. Sign in, it's gonna take me to the login page. If I go to the home page while I'm not logged in, it's gonna show me the landing page. So let's log in and see what's gonna happen. I'm gonna log in with Google, okay? It's signing in. Verify you're human, okay? And now, as you can see, since I'm logged in, it's showing me or rendering the content of the home page, which for now is nothing. So if we go here to the home page and let's type anything here, let's say h1, let's talk app, click save. I should see it here. Okay, nice. I'm seeing it. So yeah, this is perfect. Everything is working so far. Now let's add a title and description to our app's metadata. Because, guys, it's really crucial, okay? It's very important for SEO in order to help our application to rank well in search engines like Google, Bing, and so on. So let's go to app layout and then go to the metadata section here and change this from create next app to let's talk. Click save. It's gonna change here. Okay, it's changed as you can see. And here change the description. let's say a video conferencing app. Click Save. Now if we inspect, go to Elements, go to the head elements. Here go to Meta, as you can see, description, a video conferencing app. Okay, nice. And now let's create our favicon, okay? It's gonna give our app a more professional look. Go to a website named favicon.io. It will allow you to generate a favicon to your website. Choose this one. And then we're gonna upload our file from here. Click here. Let's go to our application assets and upload our logo. Yeah, this one. Now it's ready, download it. Let's save it in our desktop. Let's open it. And then let's copy this file, the favicon.ico. Copy it. Then let's go to the project. Let's talk app, public, no, sorry, app, and paste the favicon here. And right now, if I go to my app, reload, it should work. As you can see, loading, and yeah, it's working. This is our favicon. Now let's create the navbar for our application. Let's take a look at it at the old project. The navbar is gonna render a nav, which is gonna render the logo, as you can see here, which is gonna contain a link, a next link, and an image that contains the logo. And then it's gonna render the nav links like home, recordings, upcoming, and so on. It's gonna map on nav links, and those nav links is gonna come from a file named constants. We're gonna create it later. And then it's gonna return a link for each nav link. Okay, it's gonna map on each nav link and return a link for each one. And each link is gonna render an image, which is gonna represent the icon of each link, like the home icon, upcoming icon, and so on. And here we're gonna use a function named cn. This is going to come from ShadCN. So we're gonna need to install ShadCN in order for this function to work. And if you're wondering what this function is, basically it allows us to create a dynamic class names, like that. And here finally we're gonna render the user button coming from Clerk. So let's copy all this file. Of course, you can find it in the source code in the GitHub repo. And then let's go back to our projects. Go to the project directory, and first let's create a new folder named components. And inside of it, let's create a new file named navbar.tsx. And then let's paste the navbar code. As we said here, we're gonna need to install ShadCN, and we're gonna need the nav links from the constants folder. So first, let's get these nav links. We're gonna create a folder here named constants. And inside of it, we're gonna create a new file named index.ts. Let's go back to the old project here. And this is the file. This is the index.js file. And those are the nav links. Let's copy all of that and paste it here. Okay, great. Now, finally, we're gonna need to install ShadCN because ShadCN will provide us with this CN function. Go to Google and type ShadCN UI. Go to the website and go to Docs. Then installation, choose Next.js. And here copy this command. And let's go back to the project, open the terminal, and paste this command. Press enter. Choose neutral. And here we're having an issue because we're using React 19 coming with Next.js 15, and it's telling you that Some packages may fail to install due to peer dependency issues. So ignore all of that and choose use force, okay? It's installing. And now ShadCN is installed. And right now we have a lib folder added here, see? With a file named utils.ts. And as you can see, that file has a function named cn. This is the function that we are looking for. So this should work. I don't know why it's not working. Let's try to import it one more time. Let's go to cn and highlight it, click on Control and space, and choose to import it from @lib_utils. And now it's working. Let's check our navbar, reload the page here. Oh, it looks like ShadCN has caused some problems for us in the globals.css file. Let's check it out. Let's go to globals.css. Okay, it's telling me that can't resolve TailwindCSS animate. Let's comment that for now. Let's reload the page. Okay, great, the error has disappeared. Now let's go back to the home layout and import the navbar that we just created. From components, click Save. Let's reload the page. And we have our navbar here. Pretty awesome, right? Now let's continue. Now let's create the other home routes, these routes. Inside the home route, we're gonna create a new folder named My Room. And then inside of it, let's create a page.tsx. And we're gonna do the same for the other routes. Create a new folder here named Previous and a new file inside of it. Then upcoming, and finally recordings. And now let's go ahead and create the logic for the home page. We're gonna close all of that. If you wanna close all files, click on Ctrl+K+W. Then let's go to home page. And now let's remove all of that. And then instead return this div. It's gonna have these styles, okay? This is going to be the container for the home page. Here, this is the home page, and that div is gonna be its container. And here on the left hand side, we wanna render a status bar, which is gonna have the upcoming meeting, the time, the date, that image, and so on. And here on the right hand side, we wanna render a main menu, which is gonna render these 4 boxes, okay? So here, we're gonna render a status bar, and here a main menu. Now let's create that status bar. Let's copy that, go to components, and create a new file with the name statusbar.tsx. Then let's create that status bar. Here, export default the status bar. And we're gonna write use client here, which is gonna indicate that this is a client component, okay? And then here we're gonna return a section from this component, which is gonna have these class names. And right now let's render the date, that image, and we're gonna leave that upcoming meeting for later when we develop the meetings and calls feature, okay? So here we're gonna render a component named date and time, which is gonna render the date and time. We're gonna create it in a minute. And then here we're gonna display the home image. Of course, that image is gonna come from next image. And as you can see, it's rendering the home image photo. Now let's create that component, the date and time component. Copy that, go to components, create a new file, date and time.tsx. It's gonna be a use client component, export default that component, date and time. Then here we're gonna return something, of course. What are we going to return? We're gonna return a div containing an h1 element displaying the time and a paragraph element displaying the date. Now let's create these time and date variables. We're gonna go up here and create a state for the time using useState coming from React. Here we are providing a callback function to the useState function. And inside of that callback function, we're initializing a constant named now, which is equal to a new date. Then we are using this function to local time string to format that date into our minute, and of course displaying it in English US. And then we're gonna save that result to a state named time. And then of course we're gonna display the time here. And now we're gonna do pretty much the same for the date. Here, initializing a new date, formatting it, and then rendering it here. Now click Save. And let's go back here to the status bar, import the date and time. And here import the status bar. And let's comment that for now. Now let's save. Now let's go to our project. As you can see, we have the date and time here and the image here. But right now we want this time to be updated in real time, and date also. We want the date and time to be updated in real time. Like in that case, if you watch this time, you're gonna find out that it's updating in real time. How are we going to do that? We're gonna go back here to the date and time component. And then here we're gonna create some logic to update the date and time each 1 second. So we're gonna create a useEffect function coming from React. This useEffect is coming from React. And inside of that useEffect, we're gonna create an interval using the setInterval function of JavaScript. This is a built-in function in JavaScript that's going to run each 1 second. 1000 milliseconds means 1 second. And inside of this function, we're gonna set the time and date to new dates every 1 second. So basically, the date and time is gonna be updated every 1 second. And we're gonna run this function only on the first render, okay? The useEffect function is a function that runs after the component mounts. So here, when we give it an empty array as a second argument, it's gonna run only after the first render. So yeah, that's it. Let's save and go back here. As you can see, it's updated from 16 to 17. And now let's go ahead and create the main menu on the right-hand side here. As we said, we want to create those 4 boxes. And if you think about it, since those are 4 boxes like that, so most probably we're gonna need to create 4 elements. And if we take a look here at the old project, we're gonna find that those 4 elements, 3 of them are gonna be dialogues. And we're gonna take these dialogues from ShadCN. But why are we using a dialog from ShadCN? Because if we open one dialog here, we're gonna find that it contains a dialog trigger. This dialog trigger will trigger a modal opening like that. And this is why we're using a dialog from ShadCN. And each dialog or a dialog trigger is gonna be wrapping a menu item card component. This menu item card component is a component that we are going to create ourselves that's going to contain that icon and that text. And of course, it's gonna render it dynamically depending on the type of the box. So as we said, we're gonna have 3 dialogues like that, one for new meeting, one for join meeting, and one for schedule meeting. And since the last one is not gonna require a trigger or anything like that, it's gonna take me to the recordings page right away. We're gonna render only a menu item card for it, okay? So let's start by creating that menu item card, and then we're gonna get those dialogues from ShadCN. So let's copy the name of that component, and let's go to our project here, go to components, create a new file with that name. It's gonna be a client component, and now let's create it. This component is gonna take a background color, hover color, image, title, and a handle click reference to handle clicking on each box. Of course, as we saw before, each box of these boxes has different color, hover color, and of course, when you click on each box, it's gonna behave differently. This is why we're gonna need to provide all of these props. And all of these props is gonna be of menu item card props. So let's create these menu item card props. We're gonna say interface menu item card props, and that menu item card props is gonna accept image of type string, title, background color, hover color, all of type string, and the handle click function is gonna be a function, of course, that returns void, which basically means that it's going to return nothing, okay? And of course, that component is going to return a section that has a class name of the background color, hover color, and these styles. This is a custom style named menu item card. We're gonna create it in a minute. And here we're gonna render an image coming from next image. Its source is gonna be that image. Of course, as I told you, it's gonna depend on the type of the box. And here we're gonna render the title, which is gonna be equal to that title. Now let's go ahead and create that menu item card style. We're gonna copy that and go to globals.css file, and let's go here and say add layer components dot menu item card, and then we're gonna say apply these styles. Each box is gonna have a transition which is gonna make it like animate a little bit. It's gonna have a scale on hover and so on. So now let's save all of that, and there you go. We have our menu item card. We just forgot to export it. Export default menu item card, and that's it. And now we are ready to create the main menu component. So let's copy that, go to components, create a new file, main menu.tsx. It's gonna be a client component. Then let's create that component, export it, and then we're gonna return a section that has these class names. It's gonna be a grid, of course, because we wanna render the boxes like that. So we're gonna need to display them as grid. And then, as we said here, we're gonna render 3 dialogues from ShadCN and 1 menu item card, like that. So let's take a look at the ShadCN dialog. Go to ShadCN website, go to docs, then search for dialog. As you can see here, they are giving you an example. If I click here, it's gonna open a modal like that. And here it's telling you that if you wanna install it, copy that command, and let's paste it in our terminal. Use force. Okay, now it's installed. Now let's import all of that. We're gonna import it from UI dialog, and also the dialog trigger from UI dialog, and the menu item card from the components that we just created. And here also dialog content from UI dialog. Same for all of that. I'm gonna finish them, okay? So as we said here, this dialog trigger is gonna be responsible for opening a modal, and this is the menu item card, and we're gonna display a different icon for each box, and then we're gonna provide the title, background color, hover color, and so on. And this is going to be the dialog content, displaying dialog header and dialog title, like saying start an instant meeting, add a meeting description, and so on. And right now we need a text area also from ShadCN in order to input the meeting description from the user. So we're gonna open the terminal one more time and we're gonna add text area from ShadCN. Now let's import it from UI text area, and we're gonna do the same for button. We're gonna add button use force. Then let's import that button from UI button, and inside of that button we're gonna render that text create meeting. And here we're gonna have different dialogues for each box, like here to type the meeting link in the join meeting box, and here another one for schedule meeting, and here we're gonna have a menu item card for the recordings. Here this is a simple box. We're just gonna pass a handle click function that's going to push the user to the recordings page. So we're gonna need to get that router from Next Navigation, and this is why we're gonna go up here and say const router equal use router coming from Next Navigation. And here in the text area, in the meeting description, we're gonna set the values on change. Whenever the input changes, we're gonna need to set the values. But from where are we getting these values? First of all, we're gonna go up here and create a const named initial values, and then we're gonna create a state for these values. So we're gonna get use state from React, and we're gonna create the values state and initialize it to that initial values. At the beginning, it's gonna be empty strings like that and a new date like that. And then here on each button, we're gonna need to change the meeting state or set the meeting state depending on the type of the meeting. In case of create meeting, the first one, we're gonna set the meeting state to instant. In the schedule meeting, we're gonna set it to schedule, and so on. So we're gonna need to create a state for the meeting. So let's go up here and create a meeting state. That meeting state is gonna be either schedule, instant, or undefined, okay? And we're gonna initialize it to undefined. And here in the join meeting box, we forgot to add an input also from ShadCN. So let's open the terminal and let's add input. And now let's import it from UI input. And finally, we're gonna need to get that date picker. Let's take a look at React Date Picker. As you can see, it's a simple package that will give us date pickers like that, and they have all kind of date pickers. So in order to install it, we're gonna copy that command and let's paste it here in our terminal. And now after it's installed, let's import it from React Date Picker. After that, just go to the website, choose any date picker you want. You can preview them from here, or here, whatever. I copied one of these and put it in my code. And finally, in order for the date picker styles to work, we're gonna go to the app layout. And here we're gonna import the React Date Picker.css file. And now finally, I think we're ready to import that component. Click Save. And let's check our app, reload the page. Okay, great. We have all of our boxes here, but I think we're gonna need to define some styles here. No worries, we're gonna do it right now. Okay, the React Date Picker is working just fine, very nice. And here it's gonna take us to the recordings page, in which we didn't define yet. And now let's define the classes for these inputs. We're gonna go to the globals.css file, and let's go to the components here at layer components, and then define the .inputs class. And now we're using TailwindCSS version 4, so I'm gonna remove that important, and I'm gonna go up here and say add import TailwindCSS, and say important here. This is going to give priority to all the Tailwind classes that we're gonna define, okay? Now if we check our app, as you can see, the input styling is applied here, here, and also here. And this is the date picker. But I have a feeling that ShadCN is not completely working with Tailwind version 4, because here in the text area I said that I wanted the rows to be 4. Here, if we go to the text area, I said rows equal to 4. And if we go to the old project, you can see that the text area is bigger here, because actually we said rows equal to 4, but here it's not applied. My guess is that ShadCN is not completely working with Tailwind version 4. Hopefully this is gonna be fixed in the future. Also here, when I hover on that X button, the close button, it's not giving me the cursor pointer like here. See? So something is not right. Hopefully it's gonna be fixed very soon, but we're gonna leave it like that. Here also in the button, it's not giving me the cursor pointer, but we can do it ourselves. Let's go here to that button, and maybe we can say cursor pointer. Click Save. Okay, here it's applied. Maybe we can do that also to the other buttons here, and also here, and here on the submit button. So yeah, it's working now. So everything is working really good so far. And maybe here we can make an extra check. Maybe we can say if no user, return a loading component. We're gonna create it later. And here we're gonna say const user equals to use user coming from Clerk Next.js. So now let's quickly define that loading component. We're gonna copy that, go to components, create a new file, loading.tsx, and let me show you the loading that I wanna create. It's coming from a package named React Loading Indicators. Let's copy that, and let's type that in Google. This is the package that we wanna use. As you can see, it gives us a lot of loading interfaces like that. I'm gonna choose this, okay? So let's install it. We're gonna type npm install React Loading Indicators here in our terminal. And then we're gonna go here and type this code. We're gonna create the loading component, which is gonna render that component, the loading that we wanna show to the user, coming from the library that we just created. And now click Save, and here import that component. But in my opinion, maybe here, if there is no user, maybe we can say return router.push to the login route. But anyways, it's a good thing that we created that loading component because we're gonna use it a lot in our application. Now let's check our app. Everything looks good so far. But before we continue, I found out here that that important flag affected the Clerk UI component here. So I think it's better to remove it. And just I added important here before each style, okay? Now we have reached the most exciting part of the project. And I'm sure many of you have been waiting for it, which is implementing the meeting and video calls feature. And we're gonna be using an amazing package called Stream, which will allow us to implement this feature. So let's explore it together. Go to its website, it's named getstream.io, and then go to developers, choose video and audio. And from here, we're gonna explore two documentations. The React one, which is the client-side documentation, and the Platform API, which is the back-end documentation. Let's click on this and also this. Here in the Platform documentation, basically all we're gonna need is generating the user tokens. We're gonna be generating a user token from the backend. Of course, we're using Next.js. It's a full stack framework. So basically, we're gonna be creating a server action to generate a user token. And from here, from the React documentation, we're gonna be doing pretty much all the other functionality, like the client setup, creating calls, rendering videos, camera and microphone, UI components like video preview, video controls, and so on. So, first of all, let's install both of these packages because we're going to be using two packages, one for the back end and another one for the front end. So let's go to the back end one, choose JavaScript, and then copy that code or that command. And let's go to our terminal and paste that command. And now let's install the client-side package. Go to installation and copy that command and also paste it here in the terminal. There we go. We have Stream installed in our project. And then in order to integrate Stream into our app, we're gonna need to create a Stream project in our Stream dashboard like we did with Clerk. And then we're gonna get a Stream API key and Stream secret key. So first of all, let me copy these from the old project. Also, let me copy the next public base URL. It's our base URL. Let me copy these three variables. And let's go to our .env file, paste them here. And of course, let's delete the actual keys because this is the old project keys. And we're gonna generate new ones. And now let's go back to the Stream website. Create your own account. Okay, you can log in with Google or you can create your own account with your own email. Then go to your dashboard and then create a new app. Let's name it Let's Talk. And here choose anything. And then choose a production environment as we're gonna be deploying our app at the end. Then click on Create App. Okay, it's telling me that I have an app with the same name. Okay. Let's add a dash here and click on Create App. And there we go. Now we have a key and a secret. This is the API key. Copy it, and let's go here and paste it. Then let's copy the secret key, and let's paste it here. Now click Save. And now, since we are using Stream, we're gonna need to wrap our application, or actually we're gonna wrap the main route with Stream Provider. Just like we did with Clerk, where we wrapped our app with a Clerk provider, remember? Because we used Clerk for authentication. And we're gonna do the same with Stream. However, Stream didn't provide a Stream Provider component for us, which is why we're gonna need to create our own Stream Provider component. So let's create a new folder in the home directory named Providers. And inside of it, let's create a new file named Stream Provider.tsx. It's gonna be a client component. And that Stream Provider component is gonna take children of type React Node. Of course, React Node is gonna be coming from React. And first of all, let's grab our API key, Stream API key from the .env file. And then we're gonna create a state for the video client. This video client state is gonna be of type Stream Video Client. And that component is coming from Stream Video React here. And of course, use state is gonna come from React. And then we're gonna grab the user information from useUser coming from Clerk. We're gonna get the user info and whether the user is loaded or not. The user info is loaded or not. And then we're gonna put all of our logic inside useEffect coming from React, because we wanna do or execute all of that logic after the component mounts. And here, let's provide the array as a second argument. So here, what are we going to do exactly? First of all, let's say if the user is not loaded or there is no user at all, just return from the component. And also we're gonna say if there is no API key, throw a new error saying Stream API key is missing. And then we're gonna create a client. This client is gonna be equal to new Stream Video Client, and we're gonna provide an object to that Stream Video Client that has the API key, the user info, and a token. And that token is gonna be coming from a function called token provider. And remember, I told you before that we're gonna need to generate that token in the back end. The Stream Docs is recommending that you generate that token in the back end to be secure. So we're gonna create a server action to generate that token. So let's go here to the home directory, create a folder named Actions, and inside of it, let's create a new file named stream.actions.ts. And then, of course, since this is a server action, it's gonna be a server component. So we're gonna have to start the file with typing use server. And then we're gonna create our token provider function or action. It's gonna be an asynchronous function. Inside of this function, first, we're gonna need to grab the user info from a function named current user. And of course, it's gonna come from Clerk. And let's go here and grab the Stream API key and the Stream secret key, of course, from the .env file. And then let's make these validations. If there is no user, throw an error. And also if there is no Stream API key or Stream secret key, also throw an error. Then we're gonna create a client using the Stream client coming from Stream node. The node is the backend SDK. So of course here, since we're writing backend logic, it's gonna come from the stream backend package, which is the stream node SDK. And we're gonna provide the stream API key and the stream secret key to that stream client. Then we're gonna say const user ID, which is gonna be of type string equals to user.id. Then we're gonna create a validity const like that, which is equals to 60 times 60, which is basically means that the token is gonna be valid for 1 hour. And now let's create the token itself. We're gonna say const token equals to client.generate user token, which is gonna take an object that has these information, the user ID equals to user ID, and validity in seconds equal to this validity. And finally, we're gonna need to return the token as string. And that's it. This is our token provider. Click save, close this file, and here let's import the token provider. We're gonna go here and say import token provider from stream actions. And then here let's continue the logic. We're gonna say set video client to this client, and when the component unmounts, disconnect the client and set the video client to undefined. And here we're gonna say, or we're gonna tell React that we want this code to run whenever the user changes or is loaded changes. And then here we're gonna say if there is no video client, return the loading component. So until the video client is all set up, just return the loading component coming from components. And then here we're gonna render a stream video component coming from the stream package, which is gonna have a prop client equal to the video client. And then that stream video, since this is a provider, it's gonna render its children. And that's it. Now finally we're gonna need to say export default stream provider and then click save. Right now when we create on the create meeting button, nothing happens, right? So let's create a create meeting function so that whenever a user chooses to create a meeting or schedule one, this function will handle it for them. Let's go to the main menu component and let's go up here and let's create a function named create meeting, which is gonna be equal to an asynchronous function. And we're gonna say if no user, also push to the login route. And let's say here, if no user, return loading, the loading component. And right now, since we have created the stream logic, we can say const client equals to use stream video client coming from video React SDK. And we can say here that if there is no client, return router to push the home page. And then let's create a try catch block. Here we're gonna say take an error of type any. And we're gonna say if there is an error, toast, which is a component that we're gonna get from ShadCN in a minute. And then we're gonna give the user that message failed to create meeting and provide him with the error.message inside that toast. Now let's take a look at toast. Let's go to ShadCN and search for toast. And let's see an example here. If I click on this button, let's see what's gonna happen. Here you can see this toast or message appearing to me. Let's try another one, like this one, show toast. See? This is the toast. We want to show something like that, and we're gonna use that a lot actually in our application. So let's install toast, copy that, and let's paste it here in our terminal. And then we're gonna need to go to the app layout.tsx file and add this component, toaster. So let's copy that and let's go here to app layout, then go under children here and paste that, and then let's import it. We're gonna say import toaster from components UI toaster. Apparently it's not installed. Okay, it's telling me that the toast component is deprecated. Use the Sonar or Sonar component instead. I don't know, everything changed suddenly. Let's see what this component is, Sonar. Let's go to Sonar, search for Sonar. Okay, run the following command. Let's paste it here. And then also it's telling us to write toaster here as we did, but we're gonna import it from UI Sonar, not toast. So we're gonna replace toaster with Sonar here. Now it's installed. So let's go back here and import toast from Sonar. Yeah, this one. Okay, fine. And now let's write the try logic. First of all, we're gonna say if no values.datetime, if there is no datetime, toast, please select a date and time. And the duration of the toast is gonna be 3 seconds, okay? You can choose any amount of time you want. I chose to make it 3 seconds, meaning that the toast is gonna appear for 3 seconds, okay? And this is some styling for the toast. You're gonna see it yourself. And then return from the function, meaning that if there is no date inside these values, just return from the function. I know that we've created a new date anyways here, so we know that this is not going to happen, but just to be safe, okay? And then here, if there is actually a values.datetime, first of all, we're gonna create an ID for that meeting, a random unique ID for that meeting. And we're gonna use something called crypto. Crypto is actually something built in modern or in most modern browsers. So it works 99% of the time, okay? You can search for it if you want. But all you need to know is that this line of code, crypto.randomuid, is gonna generate a random unique ID for us. And then we're gonna use that ID to create a unique meeting room. And this is why we're gonna say const call equals to client.call, and then we're gonna provide the type of the call, which is default. We have several types. You can read all about it in the stream documentation. And the second argument is gonna be that ID. And then we're gonna say if no call through that error. And then we're gonna create starts at const, which is gonna be the time that the meeting starts at. It's gonna be values.datetime, then we're gonna convert it to isostring like that, or if it doesn't exist, just create a new date. And of course, we said before, if there is no datetime, return, I know, but just to be safe, we're gonna add this, okay? And then we're gonna create a description const, which is equal to values.description, coming from the user input, or if it doesn't exist, we're gonna add no description. And by the way, guys, if you wanna add some validation to these values, here, the values you are getting from the user, you can use a validation package like Zod or something like that. We're not gonna do that in this project, but you can do it if you want. And then we're gonna create the actual call by saying await call.get or create, and then we're gonna provide an object that has data property, and that data is gonna be starts at equal to starts at const, and we're gonna add any custom data we want. In our case, we're gonna add the description. And of course, this function get or create, as it sounds like, it's gonna get the call if the call already exists. And of course, it's gonna know that using the ID. or if it doesn't exist, it's gonna create it from scratch, okay? So here in this line of code, we are creating the call, and here we are either getting it or creating it, okay? And then we're gonna update the call members by using this method, update call members. Then we're gonna add update members property. Then we're gonna add the user ID to these members, to the call members. And then here we're gonna say if the meeting state equals to an instant, which means it's an instant meeting, push to the meeting /meeting /call.id right away, which means that I need you to push the user or redirect the user to the meeting room right away. And while you're doing that, give him a toast, setting up your meeting. Also duration 3 seconds. These are the class names and so on. And if the meeting state is equal to schedule, push him to the upcoming page and give him that toast message your meeting is scheduled at, and then provide the values.datetime and make the toast duration equal to 5 seconds this time, in order to give the user a good amount of time to be able to read that message. It's gonna be a long message, probably. And that is it. This is the create meeting function. And below here, we're gonna add use effect coming from React. We're gonna say if there is a meeting state, call this function and run that code whenever the meeting state changes. So of course, initially, the meeting state, as we said, is gonna be undefined. So the function is not gonna run. And when the user clicks on this button, for example, on the create meeting button, we are setting the meeting state to instant. So the meeting state is gonna change here, which means that this code is gonna run. It's gonna check, is there a meeting state? Well, actually at this point, yes, we have set it to instant when the user clicks on create meeting, right? So in that case, it's gonna run the create meeting function. And inside of the create meeting function, it's gonna run all of this logic. And basically, it's gonna come to this point where it's gonna find out actually that the meeting state is equal to instant. So it's gonna push the user to the meeting room, give him that message, and so on. And of course, before all of that, it's gonna create the call here, as you can see, and so on. And again, if the user clicks here on join meeting, it's not gonna create meeting or anything like that. It's just gonna push the user to the values.link. Of course, the user is gonna input the link, so we're gonna get that link from him and push the user to the meeting page. And in case of schedule, we're gonna set the meeting state to schedule when the user clicks on submit. And also the create meeting function is gonna be executed. And finally here, instead of saying if no user return loading, we're gonna say if no client or no user return loading. Now let's delete this one and click save. Now let's save, but actually I'm getting a TypeScript error. Let's check it out. Okay, I think I know what's going on. TypeScript saved me here, guys. Yeah, here we should say distract the user from use user. I think it should disappear. Yeah, that's great. Now let's test this function. Let's reload the page. We're getting the loading indicator here. That means that we don't have a client, we already have a user. Oh yeah, we forgot to use the stream provider. Remember, we created a stream provider, but we didn't use it. We're gonna need to go to the main layout. Here, this one. And here, we're gonna wrap the children in a stream provider coming from providers. And right now, it should work. Now let's reload. So, okay, the app is working. Let's create a new meeting and let's add any description. Let's say work meeting. And let's create meeting. Setting up your meeting. Nice. And then it redirected me to the meeting page, which we're gonna need to create right now. So now let's create the meeting page. Here, the meeting page is gonna take an ID dynamically, right? So we're gonna need to create a folder with that name. ID between square brackets like that. Then we're gonna create a page inside of it. Page.tsx. It's gonna be a client component also. Then create the page, export it. And then of course, the first thing that we need to do is to get the ID of the meeting. So we're gonna say destructure the ID, and then we're gonna use the use params. This is coming from Next navigation. And then we're gonna specify to TypeScript that this ID is gonna be a string. We are expecting an ID of type string. Then we're calling this use params. And then we're gonna say if no ID, return. And then get the user info. Of course, this is coming from Clerk. And then after that, what do we need? We're gonna need to get the call details. So we're gonna destructure the call and is call loading from a custom hook named useGetCall by ID. And then we're gonna provide the room ID or the meeting ID to that function. But from where are we getting this function? This is a custom hook that we're gonna need to create ourselves. So copy that and let's go to the home directory, create a new folder named hooks, and then let's create our own hook, useGetCallById.ts, and let's create that hook. We're gonna say export const useGetCallById, and this function is gonna take an ID of type string or an array of strings. The ID is gonna be a string or an array of strings, okay? And then we're gonna create a state for the call, which means that we're gonna use state. And since we are using use state, we're gonna make this a client component. So here we're creating a call state, and that state is gonna be of type call. And this call is coming from stream here. And then we're gonna create another state named isCallLoading. And of course, at the beginning, it's gonna be true. At the beginning, the call is gonna be loading. And then let's create a client equal to use stream video client coming from stream. And then let's create a use effect. And that use effect is gonna run whenever the client or the ID changes. And inside that use effect, first we're gonna say if no client, just return, meaning return nothing. Then we're gonna create a function named load call, which is gonna be an asynchronous function. And then inside of this function, we're gonna create a try catch block. In the catch block, we're gonna take an error of type any and just console.error the error. And then we're gonna set isCallLoading to false, because of course, if there is an error, at this point the call is not loading and actually it's not responding at all. And here in the try block, we're gonna start by destructuring the calls. And then in the try block, we're gonna start by getting the calls from stream by using this function client.queryCalls, and then we're gonna filter them by ID. So basically we're gonna get the call. And then we're gonna need to set that call state to the call that we got from stream. So we're gonna say if calls.length is bigger than 0 to make sure that we have calls, set the call to calls of index 0, which is gonna be the one call that we got. And of course, it's gonna be the call that we want. And then we're gonna set isCallLoading to false, because at this point the call is not loading and we actually have the call. And then after we define the load call function, let's call it here at the end of the useEffect hook. And finally, we're gonna return the call and isCallLoading from this function. And that's it. This is our useGetCallById hook. Let's go back here and import it. And then here we're gonna say if no call, return a paragraph saying call not found. Otherwise, we should return something. We're gonna return some stream UI components, which are stream call coming from stream, and the call is gonna be equal to call. It's gonna accept a call prop, which is gonna be equal to the call that we got from here, this one. And we're gonna get the stream theme also from stream. It's gonna give some styling to our stream component. And by the way, in order for this to work, we have to import a stream CSS file. So let's go quickly to the app layout and import this package, save, and let's go back here. And here we're gonna say if the setup is not complete, if no is setup complete, show a meeting setup component. Otherwise, if the setup is complete, show a meeting room component. So this means that we're gonna need to create that state, right? So let's go up here and create that state. Is setup complete, and set is setup complete equal to a use state coming from React. And of course, at the beginning, it's gonna be false. The setup at the beginning is not gonna be completed. The user has to complete setup first, then we're gonna set that is setup complete to true. And this is why we're gonna provide a property here to the meeting setup named set is setup complete, which is gonna be a reference to this function set is setup complete. Of course, inside this component, when we create it, we're gonna set it to true. Okay? And finally here, let's make this check if the user is not loaded or the call is still loading, return the loading component. And here, before rendering anything, we're gonna need to know if the user is allowed to join this call or not. So we're gonna create a const here named not allowed, which basically gonna indicate is that user allowed to join this call or not. We're gonna say if the call.type equal to invited, if this call is by invitation only, and at the same time no user, or that user doesn't exist in the call members, set the not allowed to true. And if the user is not allowed, we're gonna return an alert component saying you're not allowed to join this meeting. Of course, we don't have that component yet, so let's go ahead and define it. We're gonna go to components, create a new file named alert.tsx. It's gonna be a client component, and this component is a simple alert component showing a card coming from ShadCN, alerting the user about anything. Like in this case, we're gonna alert him that he's not allowed to join the meeting. So here we're gonna need to install that card and card content from ShadCN. Let's go to ShadCN and search for card. This is the type of card I'm talking about, by the way, like this one or this one. We're gonna create our own, but let's copy that command first, and let's open our terminal and paste it here. Now we're good to go. We have created the alert component. Now let's import it. So right now we have to create the meeting setup and the meeting room components. So let's create the meeting setup first. Go to Components and create a new file named meeting setup.tsx. It's gonna be a client component. And here let's create that component, const meeting setup, which is gonna take set is setup complete, as we said before, which is gonna be of type function. That set is setup complete is gonna be a function that takes a value of type boolean and returns void, which means that it's not gonna return anything. And here let's export it. First of all, we're gonna get the user info, and if there is no user, return. And then we're gonna get the call using a useCall hook coming from stream. And then here we're gonna say if no call through this error. And then if we have a user and a call and everything's fine, we're gonna get some call info. First of all, we're gonna get use call ended at and use call starts at from use call state hooks coming from stream. And here we're gonna say const call starts at equal to use call starts at. And here we're gonna do the same for call ended at. And here we wanna know if the call time arrived or not. This is basically gonna tell us if the call time arrived or not. And here we're gonna also need to know if the call has ended or not. Here we're using two exclamation mark to convert this to boolean. So if the call ended at returns something, meaning that it has a value, that means that it's gonna be true. So we're gonna convert it to boolean. So we're gonna return true from that statement. So the call has ended is gonna be true. Otherwise, if it returns nothing, it's gonna be false. So the call has ended will be false. And here we're gonna say if the call time not arrived, alert the user your meeting hasn't started yet. Let's import this. And also here, if the call has ended, alert the user the call has been ended by the host. And here let's return the templates, which is gonna render a meeting setup heading here. And then it's gonna render a video preview, which is a UI component coming from stream. This is the video preview I showed you before, remember? And here, this is the checkbox that will allow the user to turn on and off mic and camera, remember? So, as you can see here, we're gonna need a state called isMicCamToggled, set isMicCamToggled, and so on. So let's create that state. Let's go up here and create that state. It's gonna have that name isMicCamToggled. And at the beginning, of course, it's gonna be false, meaning that at the beginning, the initial state is gonna be that the user is allowing the camera and mic to be on. And then we're gonna use a use effect, meaning that after the component mounts, run this code, we're gonna check if the mic cam toggled. If it's toggled, meaning that the user wants to turn off cam and mic, we will call these functions, call.camera.disable and call.microphone.disable. Otherwise, if it's not toggled, meaning that the user wants them to be on, we will enable the camera and microphone. And we will run all of this code if any of these variables changes. The isMicCamToggled, the call.camera, and the call.microphone. So here, as we said, the checked property of that checkbox is gonna be equal to that isMicCamToggled state. And on change, we're gonna set it to e.target.checked. And here we're gonna show the device settings. Also, it's a UI component coming from stream. And this is a button that will allow the user to join the meeting coming from ShadCN. Here, when the user clicks on the join meeting button, we're gonna call this function call.join, which will allow the user to actually join the call. And we're gonna update the call members to add that specific user to the call members. And then we're gonna set the is setup complete to true, which will allow this component to render the meeting room. So let's save all of that and let's import that meeting setup component. And now let's create the meeting room. We're gonna go to components, create a new file named meetingroom.tsx, also use client. Now the meeting room is the component that's going to show the meeting room to the user, right? So the first thing that we need to think about is the layout of the components or the layout of the speakers. So we're gonna create a call layout. We're gonna say type call layout equals to, and then we're gonna specify 3 types: grid, speaker left, and speaker right. So that when we use the stream components, we're gonna tell it what type of layout we want. Do we want a grid, speaker left, or a speaker right layout? And then we're gonna create the meeting room component. And then we're gonna create a state for the layout. So let's import useState. And then we're gonna specify that that state is gonna be of type call layout type. And then we're gonna initialize it to speaker left. And of course, you can initialize it to anything you want. In our case, we're gonna initialize it to speaker left. And also we're gonna get the user info, and if there is no user, return from the component. And then we're gonna get the calling state from a hook named use call state hooks coming from stream. And then we're gonna say const calling state equal to use calling state. And then we're gonna say if calling state is not equal to calling state.joined, return the loading, meaning that the user hasn't joined the call yet. So in that case, show him the loading component. And also we want to know if we're gonna show the participants or not. So we're gonna create a state for show participants. And also we're gonna start it or initialize it to false. At the beginning, we're not gonna show the participants. And we will allow the user to choose whatever they want. And let's also get the router and path name, as we're gonna need them. This is coming from Next Navigation. And also this is coming from Next Navigation. And then here we're gonna create a function named call layout, which is gonna switch on the layout. In case of the grid layout, we're gonna return a UI component named paginated grid layout from stream. And in the case of speaker right, we're gonna return a UI component named speaker layout, also coming from stream. And it's gonna take a prop named participant bar position equals to left. And then we're gonna leave the default, which is the speaker left here. In the case of the speaker left, we're gonna return speaker layout, participants bar position equals to right. And finally, we're gonna return our template. This is the invite people button. Let's import it first. When the user clicks on this button, on click, we're gonna create a meeting link equals to the base URL / the path name. And I believe the path name already includes the /, so we don't need to provide it here. And then we're gonna call a built-in function in JavaScript named navigator.clipboard.writeText, the meeting link, which is gonna copy that meeting link to the user's clipboard. And then we're gonna give him a toast coming from sooner or sooner, saying meeting link copied, duration 3 seconds. And then here we're gonna render every thing, the call layout. And if you remember, that call layout is gonna render the video UI components, which is gonna take these class names. Let's import this. And here we're gonna render the call participants list. This is also a UI component coming from stream. And it has an onClose prop, which is a function, meaning that onClose, when the user closes it, we're gonna set the show participants to false. And here we're gonna show the call controls. Remember the call controls that were in the bottom of the page? This is coming from stream onLeave, which means that when the user ends the call, we're gonna push him to the home page. And this is a drop-down menu showing the layout options, the grid, speaker left, speaker right options. This is coming from ShadCN. The whole drop-down menu is coming from ShadCN, and we customize it here to show the layout options. So let's get that drop-down menu from ShadCN. This is the drop-down menu I'm talking about. If you click here, it's gonna open a drop-down menu like that. This is another one, and so on. And this is the code. So in order to install it, we're gonna copy that command. And let's open the terminal and paste it here. Use force. And now we can import it from UI drop-down menu. And this is the drop-down trigger, which will trigger the opening of that drop-down menu. Also coming from UI drop-down menu. And that layout list is coming from a package named Lewiside React. And this is coming from UI drop-down menu, this as well, this as well, and this is the call stats button, which is gonna show some stats for the call. It's coming from stream, and this is users coming from Lewiside React. And finally, we're gonna need to create an end call button for the owner of the call, the person who created the call, which is gonna end the call for everyone. So let's go ahead and create that component. We're gonna copy that and then go to components, create a new file, end call button.tsx. It's gonna be a client component. Then we're gonna create it, export it. We're gonna get the call. Use call is coming from stream. And here, sorry, I meant export default. And here, if there is no call, throw an error. And right now we want to know if this is the call owner or not. Because as we said, we're gonna show this button only to the call owner. So first of all, we're gonna get something called useLocalParticipant from useCallStateHooks coming from stream. And then we're gonna create a local participant const equals to useLocalParticipant. And then we're gonna check if this is the owner or not. By saying const is meeting owner, it's gonna be true if local participant and call.state.createdBy and local participant.userid equals to call.state.createdBy.id. And as we said, if this is not the meeting owner, we're gonna return null, meaning return nothing. And then we're gonna create the function that's going to end the call, which is gonna be an asynchronous function. And inside of it, we're gonna call call.end call. And here we need the router because after the user ends the call, we're gonna redirect them to the home page. So we're gonna go up here and say const router equals to useRouter coming from next navigation. And finally here we're gonna return a button coming from UI button. On click, we're gonna call the end call function and it's gonna display that text and call for every one. Now let's save and let's go back here to the meeting room and import that component, save. Then let's go back here to the meeting page and import the meeting room, save. And here we're having one final thing to do. Here we need to import this also from stream. There we go. Now we have defined all of our components. Let's test our app. Let's try to create a meeting. Give it a description, work meeting, create meeting, setting up your meeting. Okay, great, I'm getting the meeting setup. And here, this is the video preview. This is my hand. We can close the video and mic and open them again. Okay, great. Now let's join meeting. Okay, I'm getting an error here related to a change in the order of hooks called by meeting room. So it's happening in the meeting room component. Okay, I reordered the calling of the hooks here. Let's check it out again. Create meeting. Setting up your meeting. Join meeting. And there you go. This is our meeting. Let's close mic and video. Try to add a reaction. Okay, great. You can share screen from here, by the way. We can record it. Record the call. Here we can change the layout, as we said before. Here, this is the call stats. Here are the participants. And it's not working. Okay, we're gonna see why later. Now let's click on end call for everyone. And the call is ended and I was redirected to the home page. So everything's fine. Let's see why the show participants is not working here. On click, set show participants. Yeah, this is because here we didn't define that show block class. This is a class that we're gonna render conditionally if the show participants is true. Here we're having a state for the show participants. So when it's true, we're gonna apply that show block CSS class. So we're gonna need to define it first. We're gonna go to globals.css, and while we're here, we're gonna define the rest of our styles, including the show block here. Okay, and here we are defining some styles for the stream components. Now click save. Let's try again. Create meeting. Close mic and video. Now let's show participants. Okay, great, it's working. Now let's click on invite people. Meeting link copied. Now I can open the app on a different tab. Click on join meeting and paste the meeting link here and click on join meeting. Let's join with mic and camera off. Then join meeting. Okay, we have 2 people here. This is very nice. Of course, I'm getting this button here because this is the same account and I am the meeting owner. Let's copy it again, copy the meeting link again. And let's try different account, login with Google. Now let's click on join meeting and paste the meeting link. Join with mic and camera off, join meeting. Okay, there are 3 people here. And here I'm not getting the end call button because this is not the meeting owner. Let's click on participants. It's working. Let's end call. Very nice. I'm redirected to the home page. So everything is working so far. And now let's continue. And now let's create the rest of the pages. We have upcoming page, previous page, recordings page, and lastly, my room page. So let's go here to the upcoming page and let's create it. It's a very simple page. We're gonna render an h1 element saying upcoming meetings, And then we're gonna render a component called call list. We're gonna define it later. And you know what? The previous and recordings pages are pretty similar to this page. So while we're here, let's define them. Here we're gonna have the previous page, which also gonna render that component call list. Of course, here the call list is gonna have type equal to ended, and here the upcoming is gonna have type equal to upcoming. And then let's go to recordings page, and also let's create it. And the call list here is gonna have type equals to recordings. Now let's save all of that, and let's go ahead and create that call list component. Go to components, create a new file named calllist.tsx. Here we're gonna create the call list component. As we said before, it's gonna take a type props, and that type is gonna be equal to ended, upcoming, or recordings. It has to be any of these values. Here let's export that component. And of course, that component is gonna be a client component. And then here, we're gonna get all the calls that we need, all the type of calls that we need. Ended calls, upcoming calls, call recordings, and is loading from a custom hook named useGetCalls. Of course, as we said, we're gonna destructure all of these values from this custom hook. So let's create that custom hook first. Copy that. Go to hooks. And let's create a new file, useGetCalls.ts. We're gonna say export const useGetCalls equals to a function. We're gonna get the user info from Clerk. And let's create a client equals to use stream video client coming from stream. And then let's create a state for the calls. So we're gonna use state coming from React. So let's make this use client. And the call state is gonna be of type call, and that call is gonna come from stream. And then we're gonna need to set a state to know if the calls is loading or not. And we're gonna set it to false at the beginning. And then let's create a use effect. And inside of that use effect, we're gonna call a function named loadCalls that we're gonna create right now. This loadCalls function is gonna be an asynchronous one. If there is no client or user.id, just return. Then set isLoading to true. Then open a try-catch block. Then call a function called queryCalls to get the calls from it. And we're gonna sort the calls by the start time. Of course, the latest first. And here we're gonna provide filter conditions to specify that the starts at exists equal to true, meaning that the calls must have a start time. And here we're specifying that the user is the creator or the user is member of the call. And then we're gonna set the calls state to the returned calls. Okay, we're gonna take these returned calls and set that state to these calls, okay? And finally, we're gonna set isLoading to false. And of course, after that, we're gonna load the calls. We're gonna call that function. Okay, but when do I want this code to run? I want it to run whenever the client or the user ID changes. And then finally, we're gonna need to get the ended calls and the upcoming calls. So we're gonna create a new date, and then we're gonna create a const ended calls, and that ended calls have either started before the current time or have ended timestamp indicating that the call has ended. So here we're using the filter method to apply this logic basically. And here the upcoming calls are calls that start in the future. Also here we're using the filter method to apply that logic. And finally here we're gonna return all types of calls and is loading. Now let's click save, close that. Let's return here and import the useGetCalls. And then here we're gonna create a state for the recordings. We're gonna say recordings equal to useState, and that state is gonna be of type call recording. And that call recording is gonna come, of course, from stream. And then we're gonna need to create a function to determine which calls to return based on type prop. Here, remember, we have three types: ended, upcoming, and recordings. And based on that prop, we're gonna return the ended or upcoming or recordings calls, right? So we're gonna create a function named getCalls, which is gonna switch on the type. In case of ended, it's gonna return the ended calls. In case of recordings, it's gonna return recordings. In case of upcoming, it's gonna return upcoming calls. And of course, if the type is unknown, we're gonna return an empty array. And then we're gonna need to create a use effect to fetch recordings when the type is recordings. We have a special function in stream that will fetch recordings or call recordings for us. So here we're gonna say use effect, and here we're gonna rerun that effect whenever the type or the call recordings change. Let's write a comment here. Okay, rerun effect when type or call recordings changes. And here, of course, we're gonna create a function named fetch recordings. It's gonna be an asynchronous one. We're gonna say const call data await promise.all, and then we're gonna map on the call recordings and on each meeting. Here we are mapping on all the meetings, okay? And then on each meeting, we're gonna call a function called query recordings. This is the stream function that I told you about. This function will fetch recordings for each call, okay? And here we're gonna filter out empty recordings by saying recordings or const recordings equal to call data.filter. And then we're gonna filter each call if the call.recordings.length bigger than 0. And then here we're gonna call the flat map method and return for each call the call.recordings. And finally, when we're gonna have the recordings here, we're gonna set the recordings state to those recordings. Here, update recordings state. And here, after we declare this function, we're gonna say if the type prop equals to recordings, fetch recordings. And here below the use effect, we're gonna say if is loading. If here the calls is still loading, just return the loading component. And then here we're gonna get the calls. We're gonna call the getCalls function here, this function. And here we're gonna render meeting cards if calls exist. Otherwise, we're gonna render something else. So here, as we said, we're gonna render meeting cards if calls exist. Otherwise, if no calls exist, we're gonna display an alert message. So let's first display that alert. That alert component is coming from components alert. And here we're gonna say no calls available. And of course, we're gonna display that photo or that image. And here, let's write that logic. If there are calls, we're gonna render meeting cards. Of course, that meeting card is a component that we're gonna create also. So here we're gonna say if calls and calls.length is bigger than 0, meaning that if we have calls, return that div element, which is gonna map on the calls, and each meeting call is gonna be of type call, and that type call, of course, is coming from stream, or also it can be of type call recording. And we already imported the type call recording before. And for each one, for each meeting call or call recording, we're gonna return or render a meeting card, which we're gonna define in a minute. And that meeting card is gonna have all of these props. It's gonna have call, key, type, icon, and so on. The call is gonna be equal to the meeting as call. Here we're providing the key for React. Here we're gonna provide the type, and here we're gonna provide the icon. If the type equal to ended, render the icon for ended calls, which is this icon. And if the type is recordings, render the icon for recordings. And of course, the third type is the upcoming, and in that case, we're gonna render the icon for upcoming. And here we're gonna provide a title, which is gonna render the description of the meeting if the custom description is available. Otherwise, we're gonna say no description. This is the default title. And here the data is gonna render the start time. And here is previous meeting is gonna indicate if meeting is previous. And here we're gonna provide a link. If it's a recording, we're gonna provide the recording URL. And that URL is gonna be equal to the base URL /meeting /the call.id. And here we're gonna render a play icon if it's a recording, and we're gonna write a text play if it's a recording, or start otherwise if it's not recording. And here this is a handle click function. If the type is recordings, we're gonna navigate to recording URL. Otherwise, we're gonna navigate to meeting page. So let's get that router. Let's go up here and say router equal use router coming from next navigation. And that's it. Now, finally, we're gonna need to create that component, the meeting card. So copy that, go to components, new file, meeting card.tsx. And that meeting card is gonna be use client component. Here we are defining the meeting card props as an interface. It's gonna take all of these props. And here we are creating the component. As we said, it's gonna take these props of type meeting card props. And here we are displaying everything inside that meeting card, like the meeting icon, the meeting title and date, and so on. And here we're gonna show the meeting members using a component named members. So let's create that component, members.tsx. Here in this members component, what's important here is that we're gonna use a function called query members. This is a function in stream that will allow us to fetch call members, and then we're gonna store these members in a members state. Here, this is the members state, call members. And here we're gonna map on the members and render the user image for each member. Like here, for example, in previous meetings, we are showing all the images for all the meeting members. And here we're gonna render the length of the members, like here 3 members, here 1 member, and so on. And this is why here we're gonna need to render this div that will render call members.length. Okay? Now click save, go back here, and let's import the members component. Click save, and here let's go back to the call lists and import the meeting card, and then click save. Now let's go to all of our pages and import the call list component. And now I think we're safe to test our app. Let's reload the page here. Let's go to upcoming page. We're getting no calls available. Let's see previous page. And here, while we are rendering the previous page, we're getting an error related to invalid source prop here. See, the image.clerk.com is not correctly configured in the host name inside of next.config.js. In order to fix this, we're gonna need to do something. We're gonna go to a file named next.config. Yeah, this one. And here we're gonna add a property named images that has, or that equal to an object that has remote patterns, and inside of these remote patterns we're gonna provide host name for image.clerk or images.clerk.dev, whatever. This is the host name that we are getting the clerk images from, the clerk user images from. Okay, now click save and let's reload the page. And look at that, we have our meeting cards here showing previous meetings. And here we are showing participants. Let's go to recordings. I think we have one recording. We recorded one call. Yeah, that's true. Let's click play. It's gonna play the recording for us. Or we can copy the link copied. Now I can paste that link in my browser and also play the recording. Here we don't have any upcoming meetings just yet. So let's schedule an upcoming meeting. Let's say programming fluency meeting. Let's choose any future date. Now click submit. It's gonna give me, of course, the meeting details here, and it's gonna take me to the upcoming page showing that meeting card with the meeting description. If I click start, it should tell me that the meeting hasn't started yet. Yeah, that's true. Very nice. Or I can just copy the meeting link. Now finally we're gonna need to create my room page. It's a very simple page. Let's go to my room page. And here we're gonna define a personal meeting info component to display meeting details. And here in the page, we're gonna render that component with the user first name and meeting ID and the meeting link. And then of course here we're gonna have the action buttons like start meeting, and here a button to copy invitation link. Let's click save. Let's reload the page here. And look at that, I get my meeting room details, Noor's meeting room. This is the meeting ID and this is the invite link. Now of course I can start the meeting. It's gonna show the usual stuff. And now finally let's show the upcoming meeting here in the status bar. We're gonna go here to the status bar, and instead of just rendering the date and time component and the home image, we're gonna do a conditional rendering. Here we're gonna use getCalls hook, and we're gonna get the upcoming calls from it, and if it returns null or undefined, we're gonna provide an empty array instead. And here I created a function using ChatGPT. And by the way, you can use ChatGPT to create functions like this. This function will find the nearest upcoming call. And here we're gonna extract the start time of the nearest upcoming call. And here we're gonna create a formatted date const, in which we're gonna format the start time as a localized date string. Otherwise, we're gonna return a string saying no upcoming meetings. And here, we're gonna say if the formatted date equals to no upcoming meetings, we're gonna render that data, no upcoming meetings, and the date and time component, and an image component rendering the home image. Otherwise, we're gonna render the section where there is an upcoming meeting. Here we're gonna say upcoming meeting at, and then we're gonna render the formatted date. And also we're gonna render the date and time and the home image. And that's it. Click save. Let's go back here. As you can see, I got an upcoming meeting at that date and time. And that's it. We have finished everything. We have developed the full app. Now let's go ahead and deploy it to the internet. Now in order to deploy our app to the internet, we're gonna use Vercel to do that. So first I need you to go to Vercel, vercel.com, and log in to Vercel using your GitHub account, okay? Because we're gonna import our project from GitHub. So first, let's push all the changes that we've made to GitHub. We're gonna open the terminal and cd out to the Let's Talk course directory, and let's say git add all, and then git commit message finishing the project, and finally git push. And now let's go to GitHub. As you can see, we have the latest commit here, finishing the project, which means that we have everything here. This is very nice. Now let's go back to Vercel, and then let's import a project. Of course, as I told you, you should sign in with your GitHub account, okay? Then click on import, and then choose the project that you want to deploy. In our case, it's going to be Let's Talk course. Click on import. The project name, let's name it Let's Talk, like that. Framework preset, we're gonna use, of course, Next.js. The root directory, if you remember, we have the root directory of our app under Let's Talk app here, okay? Don't choose Let's Talk course. Our app is nested inside this directory, Let's Talk app. So let's choose it, click continue, and then let's choose build and output settings. Here we have install command. Let's edit it to type npm install, and then we're gonna say -- force because of the React 19 problem and the dependency issues, if you remember. Of course, this is not supposed to be the case, but it's something temporary until they fix the React 19 problems. So in order to be safe, we're gonna type npm install -- force. And then let's go to the environment variables, and let's go back to our project, go to .env file, copy everything from here, and let's paste it here. Okay, and after we deploy the app and get our domain name, we're gonna change that base URL. Now click on deploy. Okay, they rejected the project name. It has to be all lowercase, so okay, let's put a dash. So it's gonna have this name. Now click on deploy. As you can see, it's deploying. And now, congratulations, we have our project deployed. Let's continue to dashboard. We want to get the domain name, which is this one. Let's copy that, and let's go back here to project settings. Go to environment variables, and let's change the base URL from localhost to our domain name. Now click save. Let's go back to project, click here, and look at that. This is our project deployed to the internet. Let's log in. This is our app here deployed to the internet. And now I can tell you, congratulations, you've made it to the end of this journey. And now you have an awesome app in your portfolio. This is a huge achievement. Whether you're looking to impress potential employers, showcase your skills to clients, or simply share your work with friends and family, You now have something tangible to prove just how skilled and capable you are as a web developer. But this is just the beginning. Keep building, keep experimenting, and keep pushing your skills to the next level. The more you create, the more you grow. Thank you for taking this course and sticking around until the end, and I hope to see you again in another one soon. Until then, have a great day and bye-bye!